I have a frog stuck in my throat and he just will not come out. I think that a lot of us, as we find ourselves stuck at home, have had a lot of time to do some reflection and some self realization, and that is what I'm here to share with you today. I have realized that I don't think a no buy is for me. I don't think it's for everyone. And here's the biggest thing. I think that it's not for me because a no buy has just made me feel absolutely guilty for any kind of purchase I've made, even if it's a repurchase. Like, I've just felt extremely guilty for purchasing anything. And yeah, I have brought in new items into my collection and things like that. But there's that. I just feel this overwhelming sense of guilt, which I don't like. And then two, kind of like my whole purpose of doing a no buy was one, so that nothing got like out of hand. But also, I am the type of shopper where, like, if something is like new and it catches my eye, like, I'll just run right out and buy it and not really like wait on reviews and, you know, see how it actually works. Or, you know, it's impulse buys, so it's never been like a really thoughtful purchase, if that makes sense. And I just think that doing a no buy doesn't help me to reset that mindset. Because doing a no buy, to me at least, it just means, well, I'm not going to buy anything, so I'm just like avoiding everything. So it's almost like I'm avoiding the actual problem, because what I can see happening is after the end of like a year-long no buy, just being like, cool, let me go out and buy all the things, you know. So I think I'm going to switch to a low buy. I have made clearly defined rules and goals for this no buy, or for a low buy though, and there's no end date on this. I think this is just my new life, my new normal when it comes to like makeup. So I was just gonna go over what I have come up with for the low buy, and then since it's April, I completely redid my makeup inventory. And so I have that to share with you guys. Unfortunately, I don't have like the old inventory, so I can't tell you how much something has changed. Like, I can't compare it. I can't tell you like, oh, you know, the last time I did my inventory, I had 10 mascaras and now I have 6, so I've used up 4. Like, I can't give you those numbers. I can kind of give you like a best guess over, like, I know some things that I've used up and whatnot, but hopefully you guys are okay with that. So we're just going to get into it. I have my rules and things written down. So first, we'll talk about the goals, because I do think it is really important to have goals for yourself. You have to have a reason for wanting to do a low buy or a no buy. Like, I think the common sense aspect behind either of them works for the opposite one, if that makes sense. So my goals. We actually want to move. I don't like where we live. I mean, I love our house, and I really do. I think like it's a fun area. Like, when I tell people where I live, they're always like, oh, you're so lucky. It's fun, but it's like lost the thrill for me. I come from like a very small town, and that's just, I'm really missing that. I don't like the city life. I'm not happy. That has nothing to do with what this video is about though. Our 2 to 5 year plan is to move. And so by doing a low buy, that would just ultimately have more money in the bank in the long run that I didn't spend it on makeup, so it can go towards like savings and things like that. Goal number 1, we gonna move. Goal number 2 for doing a low buy is, like I talked before, I really want to switch that mindset and make more thoughtful purchases and not impulse purchases. And then 3, another goal is to get love and just really enjoy my collection and understand that I do have enough, like, at the end of the day, you know. But I see makeup as like fun and stress relieving and things like that. So I still want to allow myself to have fun and bring in certain new items if they add value to what I have, to what, you know, I already have. So it's kind of like the mindset that I'm working on. So my rules, I have set for myself a monthly budget that includes makeup, hair, body, and skincare. My budget is $75 a month, and that sounds like a lot when you say 75, but it's including every aspect of like my beauty routine. Second rule is that budget is not rolling, because I could see myself being like, cool, I really want said expensive thing. I'm just gonna like not buy anything for the next 2 months, and then have 2 months worth of my budget and go buy what I want. So I just don't want it to be rolling. I don't want to like bank any of the money just because I could see myself just using that on stuff that I don't really need. Ulta points and gift cards do not count towards the monthly budget, as does tax and shipping. That does not count either. I am not going to fool with the headache of that. That seems like a lot of work that I'm just not willing to put in, to be quite honest. I think we can all agree that gift cards and Ulta points and things like that shouldn't count towards the monthly like $75 budget. But tax and shipping, like, to me, that's just, I know that would probably add up after the year, but I just don't essentially want to fool with having to worry about calculating that out. I'm sorry, I just don't. So, rule number 4, I may not outgrow my current makeup storage setup. So I think you guys have all seen I have like a vanity tour up, but I have the vanity, which is just the top of the desk. That is considered makeup storage space. And then I have that little like nightstand. It's the 2-drawer nightstand. That is considered makeup storage space. And then I have one of those like little cloth bins that you get at like the dollar store. That's it. I am not allowed to outgrow those areas. And that doesn't mean that like with on like the top of the vanity that I could stack like 12 eyeshadow palettes on top of it and be like, well, I didn't outgrow my space. Like, no, it needs to stay essentially like how it's organized now. So it holds like brushes, and it has like the lipsticks and the foundations and things like that on it. It can't, like, I still have to have like that cleared off workspace essentially. So all right, rule number 5, may not buy any new items at release date. So that goes back to I make a lot of impulse purchases, and I don't really put enough like research into it on like, am I really going to enjoy this? Is this a good color for me? Is it a good whatever? Or even, is it just a good product? Because I cannot tell you guys how many things that I have probably bought over the course of my makeup life where I saw someone else using it and it looked really good on them, but I didn't put in the thought to think, but is that going to look good on me? Am I actually going to wear that and get use out of it? Like, or even like waiting to hear the reviews on products and seeing like, is it good or is it crappily made? Like, that happens. So that's kind of my rule in place to not make those impulse purchases. So may not buy any new items at release, or impulse buy items have to have them on your wish list for 2 months. So that's just new items. Like for me, if I, I don't know, like my Essence eyeliner that I use all the time is like my only eyeliner I have. I don't have to like wait 2 months to buy that. That doesn't have to go on the wish list for 1 to 2 months. I know that I like it. I know that I'll love it. What I'm talking about more is like, new highlighter comes out and I want it. Like, no, it's got to go on the wish list for 1 to 2 months. Let kind of the hype die down. Let your feelings, don't rush into it, kind of thing. So that's that. Number 6, buying new items must at least follow, I can't read my own handwriting. Oh, when buying new items, I have to follow a 1 in, 1 out rule, but ideally it would be 2 in, or 2 out and 1 in. So either 1 out, 1 in, or 2 out, 1 in. So what I mean by this is like, if I really want to buy like a new blush, my blush category is just humongous. It's way too much. But if I used up 2 blushes, then I could purchase 1. That's like the ideal goal. Now, obviously in some categories that just can't happen. Like I only have, for instance, like 2 color correctors, but they both serve a very different purpose. Like one is a peach, so I use it underneath my eyes, and one is a white, so I use it on top of like my lids to help cancel out the veins and just help eyeshadow and everything like that. So I only have the one of each of those. So obviously I can't like apply that rule to that category, but that's also not a category that's out of control. So really the 2 out, like 1 in category would just apply to things like highlighter, blush, bronzer, eyeshadow, things like that. Oh, and also like speaking back to that rule of, 2 in, 1 out, or I'm sorry, I keep saying it that way, 2 out, 1 in, 2 out, 1 in. Back to that rule. That doesn't mean though that I could use up like 2 mascaras and then go out and buy that blush that I want. Like it has to be like a lateral, like across the board switch. So I have to use up 2 blushes to buy 1 blush, or I have to use up, you know, 2 mascaras to buy a mascara, things like that. So it can't, you know, just transfer, because there are certain things that are just easier to use up. Like I could wipe out 4 face powders, which would be 4 items out, and then tell myself like, oh, you can go buy like a highlighter and a blush. Those are much harder to get out. So I want it to be like a lateral movement. And what are we all barking about? The peanut gallery. Number 7. The only time that we already touched on this. So like the only time that 2 out, 1 in rule doesn't apply is if it's a category where there's only 1 item in to begin with, or it's like a category that, you know, is under control. Can I help you? Yeah, what I was saying, rule 7 is just that it's kind of like the little caveat that I mentioned anyway. If the category is under control, or there's only 1 item in that category and it's the replacement purchase, like obviously it can't follow the 2 out, 1 in. So rule number 8, I can replace brushes as I need to, but it does come out of the monthly makeup budget. So I don't know, I just felt like that was a necessary rule to add in. Number 9, when purchasing, oh, this is the best one. When purchasing a new eyeshadow palette, which I do not need any of those, but if I really want one, if I think this is going to add so much value to my life, and if I've used up like 2 palettes, I could bring 1 in, right? Before I can purchase it though, not only does it have to, if it's a new release, go on the wish list for 1 to 2 months, I have to try to dupe it within my collection. And if 50% or more of the palette I am able to dupe with what I already own, then I don't need it. But there's that. That's all my rules for the low buy. So then now we will go through the categories just kind of quickly. I don't want this video to be like terribly long. So for primers, I broke my primers down into 3 categories: pore primers, hydrating primers, and matte primers, because I broke this one down because like if I use up, you know, I don't know, I just broke it down because I wanted to make sure that if I used up all my pore primers, I could go purchase one. Like I'm not going to be without a pore primer. So that's why it's kind of like broken down that way. But I have 3 pore primers right now. I have 3 hydrating primers and 2 matte primers. So that's a total of 8 for primer. I don't need to rush out and get anything right now, obviously. For foundation, I have 8 still. Not still. I know I've used up 1 or 2. For BB creams, I have 2. Color correctors, I have 2. They're both from NYX. One's the Milk Jumbo Eye Pencil, and then one is their under eye, like peach concealer. So only 2 there. For concealers, I have a total of 6 concealers. Loose powders, I have 2, which the Milani one that I have is almost done. And then I would only have 1, which would feel amazing. Pressed powders, I have 7. I know I've used up at least 1 or 2 pressed powders within this year so far. Cream bronzers, I only have 2. Powder bronzers, I have 9, but one of them's on the chopping block, so it might actually be 10 the next time we do this, unless I use up some. But I have a NARS bronzer, and I think it's in the shade Seaside. Every time I use it, I just feel like it's not that pigmented, and I have to like build it. And then I'm like, oh, we went too far. So I'm still like testing that one out to really see how I feel about it. If it doesn't make the cut, then I have 9 bronzers. If I do keep it, then I have 10. For cream blush, I have 9. For powder blush, I have 21 blushes. Too many. For cream highlighters, I have 6. For powder highlighters, I have, you ready for it? 21, but it could be 22. So the one highlighter that is on the chopping block is the ColourPop Flexitarian. It's this really pretty like icy white highlighter, but I feel like every time I use it, it gives me like this weird gray cast on it. So playing around with that in the background. So as of right now, I have 21 highlighters, but if I choose to keep Flexitarian, then I have 22. Okay, for brows, I only have 2 brow products, the ABH Dip Brow Pomade and a ColourPop Brow Boss pencil. For eye primers, I have 5. For cream eyeshadow, I have 7. And that doesn't, this next category, I wanted to break these up because to me, I use a cream eyeshadow differently than I would a ColourPop Super Shock shadow. So I have 17 ColourPop Super Shock shadows. For single eyeshadows that are not living in a Z palette, I have 2. For loose pigments, I have 9, which I did order 3 Z palettes. And so my thought process why I ordered some Z palettes is that I really want to press those loose pigments into eyeshadow pans. I just don't like loose eyeshadow. It's just not for me. So I really want to press those. I've already pressed one of them to like kind of get the method down, and it worked out really well, and I'm really enjoying, you know, that shade. So yeah, I'm going to press those. So then once I press them, I don't know, I haven't decided, like, do I just still count it as like the loose pigment category, and then because we all know that's where they came from, or do I move it down and like count it in like my eyeshadow palettes or in my singles? Like, I don't know yet. For eyeshadow palettes, now let me say I do have my Project 10 uses where I have the eyeshadow palettes that I'm like testing out like 10 times and then making a decision on. None of those are included in this. So this number might go up because of that. And then also if I do purchase either that BH or the Juvia's Place palette, that would cause it to increase as well. So I have 27 eyeshadow palettes right now. That's a lot. Eyeliners, I only have, no wait, I have 2. I have 2 eyeliners because I have the Essence Silky Nude eyeliner, and that's the only eyeliner that I need or want in my life. And it's so hard for me to obtain it at CVS. It's always sold out. So when I was in there the other day, like getting some medicine and things like that, I happened to see it on the shelf, so I snagged one. So I do have 2 of those. For mascaras, I have 7. For lip balms, I have 9. Lip liners, I have 3. Lip primers, I have 2. Bullet lipsticks, I have 8. Lip gloss, I have 2. And then setting sprays, I have 4. So goal numbers are things that I still need to like think about and work out for myself. But I do know that other than eyeshadow palettes, I really don't want any one category to be over 10. So I do have, you know, to work on quite a few of those categories to get them down to 10 or less. So that is it. Hopefully this wasn't too rambly. The camera's getting ready to die anyway, so it's a good time to cut it off. But I hope you guys are excited. I don't know if you want like any kind of updates on this anymore. Like maybe every 3 months we could do like an updated makeup inventory, but like as far as like getting on here monthly and being like, here's what about, like I don't think I'm gonna do that. So but let me know down in the comments what you think, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye.